know the Lord, with whom he deigns to dwell. He feeds and cheers them by his word. His arm supports them well. His presence sweetens all our care and makes our burdens light. A word from him dispels our fears and gilds the gloom of night.
Hello, I'm Nicola Parkman from Hands Across the Sea Samplers, and today we're going to have a very quick look at two models. I'm actually saying goodbye to these models for a little while as they're off to America, where they're going to go on display at the Attic Needleworks. The first sampler we're going to look at is Elizabeth Bevan. This sampler was finished in 1835 when Elizabeth was 13. She was Scottish and she lived in Greenock, which was a very busy port town on the banks of the Clyde. We know that Greenock was not a very nice place to live, and it was notorious for its slum conditions, poverty and disease. We do know that Elizabeth survived childhood and she went on to get married, but after that she disappears from the record books. She may have died in childbirth, or she could have gone on to live to a grand old age and had a wonderful life. We will never know, but what we do know about Elizabeth was that she had a very creative imagination. Most little girls, when they stitched their samplers, did borders that were full of leaves or flowers, but not Elizabeth. She packed her border with various types of birds, sheep, squirrels and bee skeps. It really is a very charming border, and it was the border that drew me to this sampler. She obviously liked birds because she stitched two very large birds at the bottom as well, and these are parrots, and when you look at the birds you cannot help but notice the stripy lawn with one single cream coloured sheep and a dog, so it's a little bit bare. We'll never know why she only stitched one sheep. There's two buildings above the lawn, and this building is very clearly a building where weaving or handloom work went on. Greenock was very close to Paisley, and I think most people have heard of Paisley shawls, and even after weaving became very heavily industrialised with mills, there was still a lot of handloom weaving that went on in this particular area. Another charming feature of this sampler is this figure here riding a donkey, and it's definitely a donkey, not a horse. It's got the sweetest little head collar and reins stitched in long satin stitches. The figure has a halo, and out of his raised hand there is a ray of light. So I believe this figure to be Jesus Christ. She's even put two little caterpillars in this area here. She really did have a very sort of charming and creative imagination. We reproduced Elizabeth in the colours of the original sampler, which has been faded and a little bit dirty through time, but I actually have it here for you to have a look at. Now this does have its glass in, so we will get some reflection. So we'll just put it like this to start with, and then we'll just bring it forward, and hopefully you will be able to see the sampler. Her sampler has some lovely little sprays of flower that run on the inside of the border, and they work around. And she also has some figures. She has a little man here, and then she has a little boy in what is obviously his best Sunday suit, and he appears here and here. And then there's a little lady, and then you have what I think is probably a young girl as well, but she is a little bit bigger than the boy. So maybe this is Elizabeth and the boy is her younger brother. We just don't know. Anyway, so that's our first sampler. Let's have a look at the second sampler.
This work I've done to let you see the care my parents took of me. When I am dead and in my grave, I hope this piece of work you'll save. Jesus in death, remember me.
This is Hannah Coates, and Hannah finished her sampler when she was 15 years of age in 1848. We found 4 Hannahs in the records. They were all christened in York, so I think we can fairly confidently say that the sampler is a Yorkshire sampler. We bought this at auction when the collection of Sir Michael Codron was being sold off. He is a very well-known West End theatre producer. When we bought the sampler, there were some areas of damage, and the verse at some stage had the dyes had run in the thread, and somebody had tried to clean it using what looked as if might have been bleach, because the area was literally whitened. And that just goes to show that if you have a sampler that is damaged, it's always best to go to a professional for cleaning and conserving. The other 2 areas of that were problem areas on the original sampler were these 2 birds. The colours completely bleached out on the front, so we actually had to take this sampler out of its frame and refer to the back to pick up the colours of these birds. The sampler is very pretty, very feminine. The little girl is in one of the beautiful balloon sleeve gowns that were fashionable in the 1820s. And this makes us think that Hannah may have used her teacher's sampler that was stitched in the 1820s to stitch hers in the 1840s, because this dress would have been very, very out of date in 1848. The Georgian house is very, very pretty. Everybody loves a red house. And underneath the house there is a pasture that's full of animals. There's lots of sheep and there's some deer in there as well. The whole sampler is very, very pretty. And the other thing that I like about this sampler is that it's almost square. I always think a square sampler looks lovely on a sampler wall. So we've had a quick look at the 2 models. I'm going to miss not seeing these on my wall, but I hope that if you do visit the Attic Needleworks, that you will take a few moments to stop and have a look at them and enjoy. Until next time, bye bye.